Ingrid, it's wonderful to have you here. I appreciate you taking some time to talk about, I think, it's group exercise actually quite a bit here today.
Yes, thank you for having me, Darian. I love to talk about group fitness.
What's interesting is on my podcast, we talk about things that are a little bit different. And in our kind of discovery call, we were talking about group exercise and kind of the installation of programs within group exercise and kind of some controversy related to that. I would love for you to expand upon that, what we were talking about offline a little bit.
Sure, absolutely. Yeah, group exercise, group fitness, group X, it's gone through its evolution. But what we know for sure is that it strikes a chord with consumers. People love to, they prefer to work out in groups. Moving to music is just has a primal attractiveness. We enjoy it. And when things are fun, as we know, our clients tend to return. And that's the goal, is to get people moving not only more often, but more consistently. So there's a definite inherent success rate as it pertains to people engaging in group fitness. And what has come out of that, I think, over time are lots of fantastic, innovative ideas, whether they are licensed formats or little tools that we can use and integrate into the group fitness experience. So I've been in this game a long time and I've seen different trends come and go. And it's just interesting to see what takes hold and what fades away.
Yeah. And I know that I have a lot of experience in the past with lots of different programs. I think everyone knows Les Mills and the branding with that whole thing. But what happens when we have programs come in and we install, say, these signature programs or very large brands? And sometimes there's a disconnect between putting these things in and actually the follow up to maintaining the quality of what we're doing with these programs. I feel like that's not always the case.
Yeah, I think there is definitely a strong element of education. Certainly, those programs that really emphasize the education phase and the ongoing need to build and evolve and grow a community of not only instructors but the consumers as well. So it's an interesting kind of parallel that needs to happen in terms of building the success rate of any program. But I have seen in certain cases where, all the bells and whistles are there and the program comes in, the trainers come in, the program is left in the hands of the club or studio. And when that's dropped and forgotten, the program inevitably fails. Um, I
Yeah.
think you need to see that ongoing support and engagement from the provider in order for that program to truly, again, take hold and grow.
It makes me think is Group X sometimes feels like it's indicative of the industry in whole. There's something flashy and new, and
Mhm.
everyone gets excited about it. And then there's another flashy and new. Why do you think we do that? I feel like we're an industry that's very pulled towards the flashy new thing and then it fades.
Yeah, I would agree. There's a component there that certainly, I guess it's a business strategy. Get people's excitement and interest and then move on to the next thing, which is unfortunate. I think a little bit unethical, particularly when our goal is to, again, get people moving more often for their health and fitness and well being, as opposed to just get their money. So, quite frankly, I think that there is a lot of talent as it pertains to innovation and capturing the audience per se. But there is sometimes a lack of, again, sustainability and commitment really to ensuring that a new program, again, be flashy and new, has that sense of stick to itness.
Yeah. And I think also, too, it kind of points to there's two different industries in my mind in fitness. There's the corporate entity of fitness, and then there's the people like us who work in it.
Mm,
More actually.
fair.
I think a lot of times, a lot of these classes or brands, they're run by the corporate interest of this,
Mhm.
which is let's just brand this. Let's just keep creating. Let's grow. Let's scale this beyond compare. And the quality control
Mhm.
suffers in it with that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think along with the good comes the not so good. For
Yeah.
example, we had this incredible growth, particularly in the group exercise space in terms of boutique studios. Fantastic brands, fantastic ideas. But what I've come to be aware of is a lot of these studios tend to train their own instructors and give them just flood their schedules with a lot of classes, which again is flashy, new, and exciting and great full schedules. But how long can an instructor teach 14 to 20 classes a week? The burnout rate is about a year. So there's that level of efficacy or ethics around that. It doesn't truly align with the other side, as you say, the practitioner side of truly keeping health and wellness in mind.
That's really interesting because that mirrors kind of personal training as well, the dropout rate around a year.
Mhm.
And someone who comes in, they're so excited about teaching their class, but they're teaching, like you said, 14 classes. You already see the writing on the wall. That energy is not going to last. You just know
Yes.
it. And I think clubs often take advantage of that and they just cycle it through. We'll get the next person who's excited
Mhm.
about this, and we'll just get another person type of thing.
Yeah. And again, over time, what I've seen is back in the day, everyone had to be the jack of all trades. You had personal trainers teaching classes, teaching a variety of class formats. And then all of a sudden, or perhaps not all of a sudden, but over time, we decide, oh, it's better to specialize. You only do personal training. You only teach spin. You only teach yoga. Yeah, again, pros and cons to that approach. But over time, doing one thing, as we know from a client perspective, is generally not good, right? You're going to burn out. Either your body or your mind or your emotions. One of them is going to give. So I think we've come full circle in recognizing the happy fitness pro generally does more than just one thing, right?
Yeah.
They might be training as well as teaching some classes, as well as maybe even taking on other supplemental or complementary tasks like getting their nutrition certification or their sports conditioning certification. So all of these things just make them a more well-rounded and highly marketable fitness professional with far less chances of burnout.
Yeah. I remember early in my career, I would do that. I would train a client, then I'd go teach a group X class, go train a client. It was like crazy. I was just
Yeah.
bouncing from one place to the next. I actually liked that. I liked the variety of it. Was
Yeah, I
really
think
interesting.
on the one hand, certainly it's still challenging from a busyness and a scheduling point of view. But as you say, I think it fills our bucket when we do a lot of different interesting things. It's very different energies and taxing on the energy system, but it's fulfilling at the same time.
Most definitely. I want to transfer a little bit into maybe some things we're not talking about as well. What's one thing in group exercise that you feel is just not discussed enough that should be much more relevant in the larger picture of group exercise? It could be anything related to group X.
I think there's so many, again, great advantages to the group fitness domain. What we find in our clubs where I work is that about 20% of our members are very engaged with group fitness. It's pretty much the only reason they sign up for their membership. They love classes, they love the energy and the relationship with both the instructor and the community of other class goers. And I think perhaps what's not talked about enough is the why. Why is there such a difference between the types of members that are engaged in classes and those who aren't? And I think it comes down to community. I think people need people. And I always like to say, easy to quit a treadmill, but it's hard to quit a friend. And
Mm.
in the context of group fitness, what you have is relationships that are being formed. So you're not just working out together, you're experiencing births and marriages and job changes. Like you're sharing life together. And over time, that fabric of connectivity just gets tighter and tighter. So it's amazing to see. And I think it's something that again, we probably need to lean into a little bit more,
Yeah.
especially in this age of really we're seeing mental wellness issues. And we know whether you're looking at the blue zones or what have you,
Mm.
community is critical. And sharing that sense of purpose is what really enhances quality of life and longevity. So I think the more group fitness we can dial into, the better.
You know what? I just had a thought about that when you were talking about it. And I was like, maybe we're doing marketing all wrong about group fitness and especially personal training. We often market this as a way to get in better condition and summertime's coming, but why are we marketing, let's say, like personal training as a relationship? Get into your next relationship with a great personal trainer, a friend, a confidant, and put the exercise part in the back. And I wonder how different it might be if we did that.
Interesting.
Same with group exercise. Instead of saying, hey, come in and take spin and sweat and hear the music. But what if it was come in, meet a new friend in our class or whatever it is? What if we change the marketing to more building relationships, which we all know is a big part of it, but I'm not
For
sure
sure.
it's marketed that way from what I see at the time.
Yeah, I think you're onto something. I think the social aspect of the exercise experience is far more appealing to the average
Yeah.
consumer
Right?
than anything else. Absolutely. And it's funny because we do speak this language of, yeah, sweat more, burn
Yeah.
calories, extreme this and ultimate that. And that speaks to this tiny portion of the market that actually wants that. The
Yeah.
vast majority of folks, that's far too intense, that's far too intimidating, that's scary, and that's uncomfortable. So why would we market it that way? We
Yeah.
want the warm and fuzzies as of here. Hold my hand. It's going to be okay. We're going to
Yeah.
enjoy this. We're going to make some friends. And guess what? We're going to do it again next week, or we're going to
Yeah.
do it again tomorrow. I think that has, and we're seeing that interestingly. Some businesses are out there where the class experience is actually built around the social experience.
Right.
So I've heard one outfit in New York that's growing where their class schedules are actually, the classes themselves are 75 minutes long, allowing for not just the class time, but a good 15 to 20 minutes of having coffee afterwards.
Yeah.
And
That's brilliant.
it it really is. I think it happens organically. I see my class participants, they're all chatting before class, and I'm like, you get to go for coffee after. Let's get the class done first.
Yeah.
So it tends to be an organic way to build community anyway. But these are companies that are recognizing that and actually intentionally scheduling into the class experience. So I think they're onto something.
That's actually brilliant. I almost think it's almost like a fitness book club promoting
Mhm.
it. This is, I just think we've put the physical nature of fitness. It seems obvious to say that, but I feel in other sense, we've put that way too much in the forefront
Mhm.
versus what people actually want is to have some other people to do life with.
Yeah.
And it's harder today to find that because people are so isolated. I was saying in a lecture I was doing recently that the incredible thing about the internet is connectivity all over the world. The terrible thing about the internet is lack of connectivity all over the world.
It's been
All of
weird.
the
Yeah.
same weird paradox is occurring at the same time. And I'm sure Tim Berners-Lee, who created the World Wide Web in 1990, did not see that coming. Because you think, oh, now
No.
I can meet more people. But in many ways, it's had the opposite effect.
Mhm.
But we need to revamp how we promote fitness to people. We've
I
gone in
agree.
through the front door of the physical aspect. And maybe the key to this is going through the other door that we never
Yes.
considered, but was always a huge part of what we
Yeah.
did. So,
Absolutely.
all right, if we go to a big gym, why isn't a huge gym? Let's say it's a commercial gym, for an example. I'm thinking I'm marketing it as this person, come and meet your next best friend or someone who will be there, will live life with you, man. Powerful that would be to see
Yeah.
that. They're like, oh, I'm
I
not
think
coming here really for fitness. I'm coming here for other stuff. It's a different,
yeah,
you know?
it is. It is. And I guess to a certain extent, there has perhaps always been this possibility of romantic relationship building in the context of a gym or studio. But I think more people are just looking for iconic.
Yeah, that's
But
right.
you never know.
More and more people have less and less friends. The
Yeah.
statistics are mind blowing. And in today's society, friendship is very small for people. It
Mm.
used to be you would meet friends in this kind of natural collision of college, universities, different places, or communities are much tighter. It's just easier. And
Yeah.
people struggle to develop those friendships. And the gym or whatever could be an incredible place to take that place for that.
Yeah.
But I think
I
you also have to
agree.
teach people the behavior because I also think in gyms, there's a lot of isolationist behavior as well. It's put the earbuds in, let
Yeah.
them talk to anybody. And it's a very solitude based thing as well, too.
Yeah, it's and it is very structured that way, right? We have our machines and our equipment, whereas the class context really removes all of that.
Yeah.
And there's definitely ways that, especially as an instructor, you can make a more communal experience as opposed to, again, that isolated experience. Fully agree.
So another area I think and I think you're paving the way for this is representation of people who look like us and,
Mhm.
and classes
Definitely.
that are much more representative of uh, different ethnicities. So I'd love for you to talk about what you're doing and the uniqueness of that.
Thank you. Yeah, I've come up with various class ideas over the years. And then during the pandemic, I was really recognizing there's definitely a need to address sedentary behavior, but also make functional movement a whole lot more exciting. So I came up with an idea of a class fitness format called Masingi, which is a Swahili word that means foundational. And it has actually a secondary meaning, which is to bring together. So I just thought it was a beautiful word to really launch the concept of a new class format that was really, again, based on functional movement. But the structure of the class, as we were just talking about, building community, it's actually in a circular formation. So echoing the African drum circle and going again an Afrocentric foundation uh, fundamental movements. It's just based on a tempo driven. It's not dance per se, but we do movements like squats and lunges and push ups and back extensions and hip hinges. Everything the average person needs for day to day movement or athletic movement, like the full gamut. But let's take these movements and give them different intensity levels based on the elements of earth, wind, and fire. And again, move to rhythm and to tempo because that builds consistency and again, community. So that's pretty much Masingi in a nutshell. And it's catching on. I'm seeing people again for the full range from new exercisers to seniors to athletes. They're finding they are able to do these movements and feel successful, but also they're recognizing muscular imbalances in terms of strength and flexibility. I like to say the movements are simple but not easy. But yeah, definitely Afrocentric movement and rhythms. And I reference East African landscapes and animals. These are things that aren't typically found in a traditional fitness class space. So I think it's pretty refreshing. It's pretty innovative. And it's, again, people from an Afrocentric heritage, they don't often see themselves reflected in the traditional fitness landscape. So this is, I think, something hopefully that they can connect with and certainly participate in.
Yeah, I love that. It's blazing a trail for something that's important with people that more look like us. Anytime you see someone that looks more like you, especially when you're a minority, it's actually a big deal. And I think in the general population, non-minority folks need to know how important it is to us to see other people that are doing what we're doing, because it is important. It actually does create this sense of motivation and good feeling. The other aspect, the functional training aspect, I think is so brilliant. I mean, it's a big part of my training philosophy. And it feels like we're in this weird, like mash together because so much of online influencing and stuff is based off of just get big and
Mm.
let's be ripped. But if you really understand, that's not actually really relevant for your life. I've been
Oh,
doing this
yeah.
20, you've been doing this longer than I have, Ingrid, but I've been doing this 24 years. And the majority of my clients over all this time are not looking for that. They're just trying to get up from the ground and get up to and stand regularly and be
So
able to
true.
reach and grab something. I think we're in
Yeah.
this weird time where a lot of young people want to lift and get big and make all these gains, but it just doesn't feel realistic for a long life. And what's
Yeah.
relevant for that, moving your body in different planes of motion regularly seems to be where you end up landing anyways over time.
Fair. I think different people are certainly motivated by different things,
Sure.
whether it is that aesthetic or that physique.
Yeah.
That's okay. If that brings you into my doors or into my class, that's great. But my hope is that with enough education and movement experience, you build understanding of actually what truly benefits your body and your
Yeah.
mind, quite frankly,
Yeah.
as opposed to just the aesthetic. We know weight loss is certainly a driving force,
Sure.
or getting ripped or getting big, a driving force. But again, hopefully the goal is sure, get that person in, get them certainly
Yeah.
towards achieving their goal. But in that process, I think a responsible fitness pro is going to be able to lay
Yeah.
down more of a foundation and more education around, I understand your goal and that's all well and
Yeah.
good. How about moving pain free? And how about
Yes.
living a long quality life? and how about balancing the functional muscles that you're going to need over time. But it is a process, and it is sometimes tough to overcome that perhaps a narrow mindset of a particular goal that isn't necessarily sustainable.
Ingrid, that's not exciting to people, what you just said. And I see
It's
this in my
boring
college
training.
students all the time who are becoming personal trainers. When they do session program design, it's all weightlifting, heavy lifting, 3 or 4 days a week. And when I give them feedback in their assignments, I'm like, first of all, none of your clients are training 4 days a week. Just very few of them are doing that. The reality of
Mhm.
working with people is you're lucky to get them there once or twice a week for that.
Yeah.
Two, a lot of people who purchase training or are doing these types of things are older people who have lived enough life to realize I'm so busy. I can only section my time up for a few times a week. You have to be efficient and you have to understand that
Yeah.
they just want to be able to, you're a movement accountability specialist. You're helping folks,
Mhm.
show up. I always tell people like 80% of the work is just getting people to show up to their session regularly or be there that wanted. That's
It's
like a
not the
lot of
truth.
the work.
Yeah.
Can I just get
Yeah.
you here? And then we get here, I got to
Exactly.
figure out how you're feeling.
Be
Then that's
compliant
going
to
to
get
change
appointment.
everything. Yeah.
And we know there's training for health, and there's training for fitness, and
Right.
there's training for sports specific high performing
Right.
athletics, right? So if you have the luxury as a fitness pro to hone in on that 1% or half percent athletes, they're
100%.
definitely going to show up, and they're definitely going to train for you, and they're definitely going to
Yeah.
be motivated to compete and win. And
Yeah.
certainly there's an avenue for that. But if you want to be a busy fitness pro, days, you might want to lean into the other 99% of folks that just want to move free. That reality is very different and quite humbling in my
Yeah.
experience. You're dealing then with chronic disease and mobility issues and recovery from surgeries. Like these are all this whole other level of interesting complexity that's far more challenging from the perspective of servicing clients.
So you've been doing
But
this a long time, like me. The deal. You meet somebody who just starting, you're like, okay, let me
what
tell
you
you how this
do,
real.
come back and
Come
talk
back
to
to
me.
me in a while here. Yeah, a couple people are going to be high performers and be
Yeah,
able to actually physically do some of these things. A lot of people, it's not that. I'm telling you.
unfortunately. But how fulfilling and rewarding is it when you do get people off their meds or you do
Yes.
get people recovering from an injury? And I think, again, that's why we've been doing this for decades.
Yeah.
And as an example, I had one elderly man who participated in one of my Masingi classes, former pro athlete, 6.5 feet, was like, I don't know, doing this for the first time and really unsure. But after class, he came up to me and said, I don't know what I just did, but I loved it. And he discovered all kinds of challenging movements and he thought he was fit. He thought he was still athletic. But I challenged him in a different way. And I just thought it was really a great response. I don't know what I did, but I loved it.
That's a beautiful story. Yeah. Fitness, I think, is so relative. Someone thinks they're fit in one way, or this energy system versus that energy system, this activity versus that activity. There's so much variation in what it means to be fit. And I
So
think it's
true.
interesting. Our industry is just a very interesting place because it's just so segmented of different things and
Mhm.
what's happening for that. But I really feel group exercise has a huge place in the lexicon of what we're doing. I just don't think it's just like training. I just don't think it's marketed properly because 20%, it's even lower than that for training, which is like 8 to 10%. What are we doing wrong that we can't get a lot more people? And I think we're just marketing it very poorly in general, or we're just in and out. It's just too fatty. It's very
Yeah.
fad based type of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's tough to just stand out apart from the noise, right? We know
Yeah.
where most of us are getting our information is our little device and let me Google this and Google that. And there's so much misinformation to sort through to get to the nuggets of truth. And the truth is, as I've already alluded to, it's actually not that exciting.
It's not that
It's
exciting. It really
fun
isn't.
movement, consistent, day in, day out. It's not a diet. It's not a fad. It's not detox. It's just move your body and eat close to the earth, and then you'll be healthy and well. And we've got to, I think we feel it. We really need to spice it up and jazz it up. And again, create these trends and fleeting fads
Yeah.
that unfortunately they might capture some people. And if they do, we can't hold on to them for long. So
Yeah.
it's a broader, it's a broader uh, topic of, as you say, positioning our marketing angle.
I think so. And even one thing I always think, I ran a club for 10 years in a private residential community. Like one of the biggest things for me, and I think this is also not talked about enough, is like the greatness of your point person at the front desk for the first contact in a gym, I think sets the tone for your facility. And I
Right.
was a big proponent of our front desk people have to be amazing. Like they have to be smiling, have fun, strike up conversation, set the tone for what we do. This is what we do here.
Mhm.
And when
Mhm.
you have that person is just promoting, oh, we have Masingi here. Did you know that? Oh man, I tried. It was so cool. Like I would have people like that at our front desk. And then people who never
Absolutely.
tried stuff would try it because the front desk person would pump them up about it. Like, oh, maybe I will give it a try and not do my same 3 sets of 12 that I do every single day. Like, I think we don't talk about enough the importance of the point person when we come into a facility to pump up these classes.
Yeah, and that's so true. It's such a critical role, and quite often, though, it's the most junior role, and it's the entry level role where
Yeah.
you really don't have that, perhaps that most confident
Right.
or informed individual able to speak to all of the programming and able to speak to all of the benefits. I agree. That's a, I think, opportunity for the
Yeah.
industry as a whole to really focus in on that entry level position.
Yeah, a lot of opportunities in our business. I think it's just there's a lot of different things we're not exploring, but that's why I'm doing this podcast. Is to explore.
And I applaud you for that because it's definitely needed. It's definitely needed.
Yeah, we need
Great
some
conversation.
disruption in our
Mhm,
space and just a different thought process. Just like I said
mhm.
with the marketing, why we should rethink this. We should reposition this as friendship, companionship, a
Yeah,
confidant relationship. I've always done my business this way because very early on, 24 years ago, I realized, oh, this is a relationship business.
yeah,
Fitness is
it
actually
really is.
fitness is actually the mirage in some way. It's what
Mm,
we put out there. It's what we see in the deserts. Oh, there's water there. Oh, this is fitness. But when you get up close to it, it's really just about people hanging out together, feeling good about telling, complaining about stuff in their life, talking
right,
about stuff.
complaining.
Right? Complaining, a lot of complaining,
Yeah,
telling them how
for
tired you
sure.
are about their job, their family is like, oh, that's what this is about a lot. And feeling like other
Mm,
people will listen to
for
you.
sure.
Because how many people don't actually listen to other people during the day? They may have had this very isolating work day, and you may be the only person they're talking to on
Abs
this level and that day, or getting that energy in the class for that day. That could be it for them.
Yeah, yeah, and I think we're seeing other interesting things in terms of the growth of walking clubs, hiking clubs,
Yeah.
running clubs, because you're able to be active and, again, social, have, I guess, to be heard
Yeah.
and have other people develop that connection, and I think we're definitely craving that.
We are craving it. What you and I have just done is not done for most people during the day.
Right.
When do you sit down uninterrupted and you just talk to someone like this?
Mhm.
It's not done that much.
It really
So
isn't. Yeah, you're right.
we can create that, and fitness actually could be almost a secondary emphasis. And what if we put the other emphasis as the main? What's the main thing? Make the main thing. I always understood what the main thing was. Like, I need to be good at
Right.
building relationships with people.
Yeah, I think it's key, and it will, I think, warrant the results that we all hope for, which is
Yeah,
showing.
right. And that speaks to another thing. Well, what are actually the results that people want? I
Mm,
think we believe that the results that people want is these very aesthetic based looks, these optimal look. I actually don't think most people want that. I think they actually just want to move regularly. Like they just want to like,
yeah,
I can't get
and
myself to do this. Like,
yeah, and I think that has interestingly evolved and changed over
yeah,
time as to, again, especially post-pandemic, there's that
yeah,
heightened value and recognition of, like, just basic health and being, body, mind, and spirit, like, that can't be taken for granted anymore.
yeah.
So I think, yeah, you're right. We might to I think we'd all be better off if we focus on just those fundamentals as opposed to this high ideal of just an aesthetic.
Yeah. And it's okay not to reach that. I just think we're very socialized into, don't you want this rock hard body? Don't you want to look like this? Is like, I remember the other day while I was visiting Vegas and visiting some clients of mine, and we were in Lifetime Fitness, and I couldn't believe what I was seeing like on the screen. It was an ad for like buying the most expensive jewelry you can buy in a gym. I was like, why are we promoting like buying a $300,000 necklace in a gym?
Interesting.
Like, when shouldn't that screen be like, connect with people you care about? No,
Right.
it just seems so odd to me. I'm like, we're still really stuck in this, this very
Yeah.
externally motivated thing. It just seems strange.
Yeah. External glitz and glam.
Externalistic.
That's the
Yeah.
word for sure. When it really, what truly matters is not that.
No. And that's how I think we reach that 80% or whatever people were not reaching. We got to reach what the majority of the population wants, which is not to be punished regularly in a class or to
Mhm.
compare themselves to other people. It's just, can you get me moving? I'm not moving at all. Like in my
Yeah.
life. And I need
Yeah.
friends. I need friends. Can you help me find friends? Seriously,
Can
this
you
is what
find me
people are
some
looking for.
friends?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I need find me some friends, some people to hang out with, you know?
So true. Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting times. And I think I'm convinced though that the group fitness class environment, particularly when it is welcoming, inclusive, accessible, multi-level, yes, you can do this. Yes, you can feel good. Yes, you can move pain free. The Masingi mantra, what I like to say is smile inwardly, smile outwardly, which is really to say self care isn't selfish. We all need
Yeah.
to take time to do it. And when you do it, you're better able to smile outwardly. Literally,
Yeah.
you feel better about yourself. You're more able to manage the rest of your life and be there and show up for the people around you. And I think that's just a bigger kind of cultural, societal thing that, again, we'll all be better off if we take that approach.
Most definitely. That's a great way to end it. I love that. You're full of the taglines today.
I've
I'm like,
been
quit.
thinking about this a lot.
It's easy to quit. I want to remember it's easy to quit a treadmill. It's not easy to quit a friend. You know,
Exactly.
be the title of this. Like,
We need some t-shirts. We need some
I
good
know.
t-shirts.
Great brand, great marketing. See, that's really great marketing right there.
Absolutely.
That's a different way of doing it. Thank you so much, Ingrid. I also enjoyed seeing you win a big award with IDEA this past summer. Very
Thank
grateful
you.
to know you and meet you. And thank you for the feedback you gave me when we met and how in one of my presentations, a couple things I said resonated with you.
Absolutely.
So,
Yeah. So much good stuff. I think we're definitely, aligned with certainly our vision for the industry.
yeah.
And it's just refreshing to have such progressive conversation.
Yeah, most definitely. So please let everyone know, and we'll have this in the show notes too, some ways to learn more about you and your mindset, your approach.
Fabulous. I appreciate it. I'll just add that if anyone out there is interested in learning more about Masingi, they can definitely go to masingimovement.com or follow that tagline on social media.
Perfect. Ingrid, thank you so much. Have an awesome rest of your day.
Thank you. You too.